Hey, what's up? It's Metal Dave with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. And guess what? This week we have no guest. It's back to the Dave and Jason show, the Jason and Dave show, like it used to be when we first started this 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You know what this is? This is not guns pointed at the sky. This is two losers. No guest, just two losers.
Yeah, and it's you know what we should state that it's not because we couldn't get a guest. We've actually had some requests from listeners that we go back to this format every once in a while because for whatever reason, believe it or not, some people kind of like the idea of me and you just riffing off each other and talking once in a while.
Yeah, it's kind of how. Sorry to interrupt. It's kind of how we started the game anyway.
It is how we started the game, yeah.
Where we would pick a topic and just go. The interesting thing is our topic today is recent past and future events.
Yeah,
is pretty much what we're going to talk about. So we're going to just play a catch up, hang out. Jason and Dave hang out. Dun dun dun.
So you've been quite busy the past couple months. A number of fly out gigs. I know you've flown out to work with Dirty Looks, Dangerous Toys a couple times. You flew out to Germany with Watchtower.
Yeah.
Let's start with Watchtower because when you told me what your travel schedule was for that gig, it was crazy.
Well, and the messed up thing, not to jump ahead, is the travel. I don't know why or how. Well, yeah, I kind of do, but it didn't have to be this way. Is the toys date that I just did in Massachusetts was very similar to the crazy not having any time, like landing and going and doing a gig and going right back to the airport. It was almost the exact same thing, which is just insane.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. It's fairly normal for bands that do flight dates to catch a flight at, leave for the airport at 3:00 in the morning. So the gig's over at midnight. You do the math.
Yeah.
You're going to the hotel and packing your shit and getting in a van and going to the airport. I'm sorry, you're going to, hotel, pack, straight, thank you, good night. Hotel, pack, straight to the airport, no sleep. Sometimes a gig the same night. It's crazy.
It's, I realized that when you're doing a stateside gig, but the Germany thing was really a whirlwind because, that's like a 14-hour flight or something.
It's not really that long. It's a 14-hour travel day if you have a 4-hour layover.
So break down your schedule.
The flight's only, okay, I will.
Tell people what you told me because my mind was like hurting after.
Okay, yeah, don't sweat it. So I wasn't telling you or anyone listening to make them feel uncomfortable or guilty. 11 a.m. flight. Oh, great. Got to sleep in and have breakfast with the family and, okay, 11 a.m. flight. All right. So you get on the plane, right? And we flew into Atlanta on the way there. We're flying into Frankfurt, Germany. So 4-hour layover in Atlanta.
Oof.
So, it's only, a couple hours, 3 hours to Atlanta.
Right.
4-hour layover. So we started at 11 a.m. So, that's already 6 or 7 hours into it. So the Germany flight from Atlanta to Frankfurt, 7 hours. There's your 14.
Wow.
There's your 14 hours of travel.
Yeah.
And you're not really sleeping. You're dozing off on the plane. You're maybe taking some kind of inducing agent to crash,
Yeah.
on the plane if you're good at that. I am not good at it. We landed at 9:30 a.m. on the day that we play.
Wow.
We had we got to about an hour in a van from the airport to the hotel, and I shared a room with Ron Jarzambek, guitar god, Ron Jarzambek.
Yeah.
The rooms over there, it's it's nice. It's, you know, the quaint little German towns are awesome. And we didn't stay in Frankfurt. We stayed close by. We were near Wurzburg, which is where the gig was.
Okay.
And
this is the Keep It True festival, is that right?
Keep It True Rising. Okay. There's 2 Keep It True festivals now. This was Keep It True Rising number 3.
Okay.
2-day festival, Friday, Saturday. And amazing what they do there. Oliver Weinsheimer has been doing it a long time, and he's got a great crew. And Bart Gabriel, whom we've had on the show before, he's on the crew. He was one of the liaisons for the artists, you know, setting up rides to and fro and checking on everybody. So I basically hung out with Bart, you know, every 45 minutes. I was like, dude, can you get it? Yeah, no problem. Consider it done. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Production staff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, running into people that I've known forever that were pen pals, you know, 30 years ago and more, via tape trading and, you know, German heavy metal magazine people. You know, it's too many. One that comes to mind is Getz Kudeman, who has he's worked for many magazines, but he was at Rock Hard for a long time, and he has a thing called Deaf Forever now, and it's kick-ass German metal magazines. High Gloss, the new issue has KK Downing on the front.
Okay.
I can't read it because it's in German, but it's still badass.
You couldn't read it if it was in English. Let's be real.
And you don't have one. So there you go. He gave me a copy anyway. So that's going on the whole time. So yeah, we went to the hotel and we chilled. We went to the hotel. We got something to eat. I think we went to the venue to just see our wares, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think some of us, I think that we went back to, that's right, we went back to the hotel to just chill for a while.
Okay.
And then
was there a meet and greet somewhere in there?
We had a meet and greet at 5.
Okay.
So it's already like noon now, right? Mm-hmm. So we're back at the hotel. We chill. We go. Then we're, you know, not long. A few hours later, we're back up, and you know, they're setting up rides for us. There's a van, you know, that's taking it. We were real close. The hotel's real close to the venue, so we get there and we're making sure that we have everything we need. And I had there's a metal market at all of these festivals. It's like a vendors, you know, there's like most of the time it's outside under a big tent. Well, this venue is so huge that they had that metal market inside the venue, like in the very, very back. Right. And you can still kind of have a conversation, and there's fucking, you know, metal bands playing at the other end of the room with, you know, 2,500 people headbanging and enjoying themselves. And then all the way, that's how big the venue was. So I had some Assailant business to take care of. If you know who Assailant is.
I know the name's been mentioned on this show numerous times.
Assailant it's kind of another story, but Assailant is Mike Solis was their singer. Yeah. And I wrote these 3 songs with these guys, and they had more than 3 songs, but they didn't have a singer to start, and they asked for my help. I wrote some songs. I brought Mike Solis in to sing backup on it. A week later, he joined the band.
Okay.
He went back in the studio and recorded all my vocals. He left his backing vocals on there because he's already on there. The harmonies, right. Yeah. They just erased my tracks, and anyway, so this EP recently came out. I don't have one handy, or I'd hold it up. On a German label, the names of the labels escaping me at the moment, but the point is it finally, that demo saw the light of day, and side one is Mike Solis's vocals on the same 3 songs, and side B is with my vocals.
Oh, cool.
So you have the genesis and you have what came to be, and it's a great unsung Texas metal demo, just like you could imagine. It reminds me of like thrash Queensryche or something.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's available. It's on all streaming platforms anyway. So Frank at the label, I had to go I signed like 100 copies of that thing. I had some business to do.
Yeah. Okay.
I wore my arm out that day, which is, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great. And then Metal on Metal Records was just a few tables over in the metal market. And Metal on Metal is what the latest Igniter record, the last golden age of black magic.
Nice. Okay.
And I had some business with them, just some trading. I had some CDs for them, and they had some for me. And so I was busy.
Yeah.
And then the signing was at 5, and our signing was huge. I mean, it was probably, everyone's watching the show right in front of, like 150 people lined up to have us sign records and posters and shit.
Wow. How much merch do you sell at one of those overseas gigs?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because that kind of goes, here's like a blanket statement to answer your question. I try to only ship or have printed, like in this case, I had over in Germany, the promoters helped me find a printer who already knows the merch crew that does Keep It True, that does all these festivals. And so I had the shirts printed in Germany.
Okay.
So I only have them here. Back to what I was saying. I either only ship what I think that I can get rid of entirely, so I don't have to ship any back or shove them in my bag. There's never room in your bag.
Right.
Oh yeah, we sold almost all of it. How many? Oh, 2 dozen. Oh crap. You got to buy a bag and you got to check it. It's a pain in the ass.
Right.
So, all the shirts are sold out. Wow, y'all must have sold like a lot. Well, we only brought 100 shirts. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Only for the convenience of not having to bring a bunch of crap back to Texas with you.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
I'm just working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
So I think that they printed 215 shirts, and it was because I wanted the sizes to even out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we sold them all.
Wow, nice.
There were 2 double X's left, and I just gave them to the promoter. Whether they were his size or not, I just gave them to him.
What does Watchtower offer at a gig like that in terms of music? I know a lot of your stuff is out of print.
Oh, what do you mean offer as far as music?
Vinyl merchandise, CDs.
Well, we're not on a label, or there's no music. It's a legacy band, so it's out of print, always out of print. You're paying out the ass for an old, hopefully not too beat up copy that came out in the 80s.
So when you're doing this meet and greet, how many people are showing up with a copy of an energetic?
The light is now shining on your question. I get the question now. Yeah, quite a few. I've signed bootleg copies of Energetic before. I didn't see any bootleg copies of Energetic on vinyl this trip. But I signed a ton of Assailant. There, that is again, because it was there in the metal market. I signed another 30 of them at the meet and greet.
Yeah.
And then Doug and Ron was busy. I signed some Spastic Ink records. So Ron was busy signing a bunch of Blotted Science, all of his projects. I signed a lot of Broken Teeth.
Dangerous Toys. Do they bring that to
few Dangerous Toys? Yeah, those guys, they're rabid. They bring a whole satchel.
Yeah.
And since they have a wristband or whatever, they can take it back out to the car if they drove.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't drive, so they're kind of camping out. They probably have a stash in the inside the ceiling in the bathroom or in the corner with a cloaking device over. I don't know what you do if you took the train and you brought your record collection with you to get it signed by all the bands that are there that day. I don't know.
Wow.
I'm sure the pros know what to do.
Oh yeah. There's probably very few rookies in that audience.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no rookies in there at all.
Right. Now we should let people know you were opening directly for Metal Church and Udo Dirkschneider at this festival.
Yeah, that was the slot they gave us. We went on at 7:30, so that signing was at 5, and we signed for an hour and a half. We signed up until it was about time to put the skinny pants on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yell into the microphone, check, is this thing on?
Right.
Oh shit, are they going to fly the banner? Come, hey, Bart Gabriel, here's the banner. Go, yeah, no problem. Got it. And
so how many people are you playing in front of? It's
2,000.
2,000.
2,000.
That's a great show, man. In front of Metal.
It was a lot of fun. It wasn't our greatest performance.
We haven't been together in I mean, how many rehearsals have you had leading up to this?
A handful, and then one warm-up gig, that gig in SA. But it's always going to be that way when you're not a touring. That's how Dangerous Toys works. That's how Broken. I hate rehearsing.
Yeah.
But you have to rehearse if you want to be okay.
Professional, yeah.
Kind of good. Know what you're doing. Oh yeah, I mean it's pro. It just wasn't this particular performance wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. And there's no sleep. There's no sleep between any of us.
Right, which brings me to my next question. So you get off the stage, do you stick around for the rest of the show, or do you hightail it back and try to catch some sleep before the flight?
Well, it's there's still business to be done.
Okay.
People are still buying shirts, and you have to get paid for the gig, and you have to figure out, you have to check in for the flight in, 3 hours from now.
Yeah. So what time does the flight leave the next morning?
Oh, it was still dark outside.
Yeah. So all told, from the time you left your home and by the time you walked back in the door, how many hours was that?
Well, it was 14 when you consider the layovers. On the way back, it was the same 4-hour layover. It was at JFK in New York. So it's the same amount of travel. We just left earlier in the day on that Sunday, which would have been October 8th.
So 14 hours both
there. Yep. There,
so that's 28 hours. How much time are you on the ground and on stage in Germany?
We were there. So we landed at 9:30 and we went on at 5:30. So, by 8, you're done at 8:30. Nine. I mean, I was there probably till 10:30. And then it was, I'm going to go pack my bag in the hotel room and make sure that I don't forget anything. And
so I'm not going to do the math, but it's safe to say it was less than 48 hours and you were back home. 28 travel time.
Well, it was all day Friday and pretty much an all day Sunday. So you're really only in Germany that one day.
Right.
From 9-ish to, 3 o'clock in the morning, or whatever.
That is a crazy head spinning weekend right there.
Yeah. I wasn't even in Germany, I don't think, 24 hours.
So when you come back home, how long does it take you to put your head back together after something?
Get back on your normal clock. Yeah. The best trick is to just not sleep. Get back on your clock. If it's, you sure take a little nap just to kind of feel human, but I wouldn't try to induce sleep because usually they call it second wind. It's not really second wind. You're kind of, you're just out of whack, and it took me I took off work the next day and just chilled on that Monday. Yeah. But I was fine. I mean, I pretty much, went to bed at a normal hour. And it was really great. Let's talk about, just the whole experience, because It's a 2-day thing. There was a lot of bands that I had heard of that I'd never seen before, and like, you know, I wasn't there for Friday. I was on a plane, right? I got to see some Metal Lucifer. I got to see some I think they're a Japanese thrash band, Metal Lucifer. I want to say they're a Japanese band, and they were rad. I got to see Enforcer. Yeah, they're cool. They're like traditional heavy metal. Yeah,
I've seen them here in Austin.
And the bass player, who I don't know personally, lives in Austin. So he was probably on our flight or the flight right after ours, out of Austin and going back too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And he was in, apparently, I feel bad that I don't know his name, but he was in Scorpion Child.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that band? Yeah. Yeah, he's an Enforcer. And Olaf, the singer, is how I found that out. And I hung out with, just in passing a little bit, got to talk to Olaf a little bit. And it was like a funny story about Olaf from Enforcer. This was probably going on 7 years ago or something crazy like that. I'm living at my mom's place downtown Austin, and I'm out there doing yard work. This is funny. I'm doing yard work, so I'm sweaty and gross, wearing a Watchtower shirt.
Yeah.
And 2 dudes, one of them Olaf. It was Olaf and the drummer, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the drummer's name. They're walking down my street. I'm doing yard work, wearing a Watchtower shirt. 2 dudes from Enforcer are walking down my street. And I'm like, you guys are in Enforcer? And they're like, yeah, we are. Yeah. And I introduced myself and da 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 da. And they're like, oh shit, yeah, we know who you are. Blah, 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 blah. We've done, Igniter has hung out with Enforcer, I think we've done a show somewhere around here. I think the drummer was actually living in Austin for a while, so it's no surprise that they know a lot of people around here. Yeah. So here we are, in Germany years and years later, and he's like, yeah, our bass player's from Austin. So Enforcer has this cool Austin connection, and then Olaf is reminding me about, oh shit. And I wanted to go like total Beavis and Butthead. Hey, you remember that time y'all were walking down the middle of my street and I was mowing the lawn? But I didn't get to bring that up. Anyway, so this is a great celebration. All of these European festivals are incredible. And a lot of our friends go they do the pilgrimage and they fly over, and Rodney Dunsmore and more. There's a whole crew of them. Sean Weingartner. Anyway, and it's a rite of passage, and they really care. It's a full-on culture over there. Yeah. I could talk about it for hours, but yeah. And then the slot that the promoter gave us was right after Enforcer, Metal Lucifer, Enforcer, Watchtower, Metal Church, and Udo Dirkschneider. Oh man! On a Saturday night. Yeah, it was heavy metal heaven. Wow. Yeah, and so I'm walking off stage. Thank you, good night. I'm walking off stage, whatever, and dudes in Metal Church are right there, side of the stage. Yeah, killer show, high five, and the singer was like, "Oh, it's my first time seeing you guys." Blah 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 blah. The singer's name is Mark Lopes, Lopes. In Texas, people would say Mark Lopez. Right. Whether it was S or Z, they would say, but it's Mark Lopes. Okay. So yeah, cool. Yeah, that was great. Awesome. Cool. Nice to meet you. And Kurt Vanderhoof is back there, and he's like, Jason, what's up? High five, blah, 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 blah. Hang out, see some Metal Church, go do some business, production office, merch table, da, 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 da. Hook up a ride back to the, get the shuttle happening to go back to the hotel, and run into Kurt breakfast, early as shit, still dark outside. They're serving breakfast, probably 6, yeah, at the hotel. So that changes things. I guess our ride was there at like 6:30. I think. So we're shoving our face with muffins and egg and whatever we can get down before we have to get in the van.
Right.
And Kurt Vanderhoof is there, and he's like, "Hey man, cool." And he starts how we exchange numbers, and all's well. We get in the van, and we 14-hour travel day back to town. Yay, success.
Wow.
Hopefully there'll be some decent video, because Keep It True, they have a video crew that videotapes, and they always record and such. So we're hoping to get some cool pro shot edited, sounding good, looking good videos eventually. But we are directly involved in with producing some of that stuff as well. So hopefully that'll happen, because sometimes it doesn't, depending on how good it sounds. It might not work. Anyway,
that's awesome.
So if I may jump into, I just got back from New Bedford, Massachusetts. I was there with Dangerous Toys. And it was a great show, sold out, great venue called The Vault. Bad Marriage. Have you heard Bad Marriage yet?
Tommy Skio just joined that band, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
But they were killer without him too. Just so you know, he's not making them. Right. They were already a kick-ass rock and roll band.
I didn't know much about him until he joined the band, and I think that kind of got them a little.
Yeah. Good shot in the arm. That's great. I'm sure that it's going to help him eventually anyway. And he's a rad guitar player, so there you go.
Yeah.
But
so
they're cool guys.
For you?
Yeah, they were first, and then All Sinners went on in the middle. And the promoter is the drummer. His name's Roger. He's the drummer for All Sinners, and they go out to Hollywood and play out there. I think Bad Marriage does too. They these guys hit the road and do fly dates and run around the country. I don't know how they can afford it, but they stay busy, these bands. So I was glad that bands with some kind of footprint were there. They're from the area. They're from that area. They're from New England.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is where it was a great show. The venue is great. The owner of the club, who's the drummer in All Sinners, Roger, he also owns a record store. And I guess you saw my posting.
Yes.
Purchase Street Records. And
yes.
Dude, you and your son would go broke.
I did see that you were posting on social media. And first of all, I was surprised that you even had time to venture out, because I know you typically don't when you do these things. And my question was, when you do have a rare moment of free time and you're doing one of these fly out dates and you do get a chance to go to the local record store or whatever, do you ever wander over to the bins that have your bands and just see if they're well stocked?
Oh, they had it laying out all over the store. Since we were in town, they just had them. Oh, look. So they were trying to sell it.
Toy stuff. Yeah. But do you go look and see if they've got Igniter or Broken Teeth or Evil United or anything like that?
Well, I knew that they didn't, but the guy that drove us over there, he's a fan of everything. And like pretty much everyone who works at that record store and works at that venue saw me front Armored Saint in Boston a year ago.
Oh yeah.
So there was that on all of their lips. Dude, I saw you with Armored, the meet and greet. Oh, by the way, we now hold the record at this particular venue that everybody plays at. LA Guns, Fast, everyone plays at this club called The Vault. There in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Right.
Plug. We hold the Dangerous Toys holds the record 70 VIP meet and greet tickets sold.
Wow.
So that was a long day. That was a long meet and greet.
Yeah.
They were bringing them in 12 at a time.
Do you do that before the gig?
Yes.
Okay.
So for this trip, it was fly in on Friday, and it was fly in early as I had to be at the airport at 5 a.m. this past Friday. So we land at it's a 4-hour flight, but it was an hour and a half ride in a van from the airport to the hotel. So, we're it's like already 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, right? By the time we're even able to sit down on the bed in the hotel room and go, damn, that sucked. And you're hungry and you don't know where you are. So hey, front desk, so went and had some fish and chips. It was rad. Great little downtown area. It wasn't cold, but it was nice and cool. And it rained all day on Saturday, day of the show. So we're there having a nice afternoon chilling, and we're all just spent, tired. And we eat, and Joey Belladonna's Journey tribute band was playing at the venue that night. Paul went and saw that. Paul went to the venue and saw Joey Belladonna sing Journey. He said it was rad.
Man, that's what I've heard.
He said it was killer.
I could see it being great. I've just never heard it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The guy can sing his ass off.
Oh, yeah.
So Paul went and did that, and
which you do.
I went and got some more food, and I just
with the bed.
Yeah, man, I just tried to chill and get my wits about me.
Yeah. Who was the guy that came out in the clown suit? Did you know that was going to happen?
No. So they were billing this, and I didn't really. I mean, I guess it was on the poster, but it was a hellacious Halloween show. Okay, they were celebrating it as a Halloween type of a thing. And the Grim Reaper was in the front row, and it was an evil clown walking around. Yeah. Scott brought him up to the dressing room. It was this guy named Keith, and it was a serious latex apparatus. I mean, it was like movie style. The makeup was killer. He had these like crazy red contacts in, and he had that wig made. You can't buy that at the HEB. Yeah. You can't buy that at Walmart.
Because I know you guys don't typically have that, and especially out of town. So I figured that whoever did that, it was a total surprise to you guys, or maybe they told you before the set, but I knew it wasn't part of your crew. So I was just curious, who's the guy that showed up with such an awesome clown suit and got on stage and was kind of fist bumping you and all that stuff?
Guy in the crowd. We just met him that night, and the guy was super cool. His name's Keith. Thank you, Keith. That was a lot of fun, and that was a lot of work for you to put all that stuff on. He goes, I kept asking him, is that comfortable? He goes, dude, I feel it's just great. I was like, that's amazing that you can put all that on and just like hang out, because that would be like, because when I put the jean costume on, I can't wait to get rid of it.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable. Yeah. Anyway, so it was a great gig. So, so it's Friday anyway. So it's Saturday. I slept in, breakfast, got some Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts is God there. They're everywhere.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, they're everywhere. I went and got some breakfast. Scott went with me, and he got a latte, and I got a couple of egg sandwiches or something. And then I decided, sound check's at 3 p.m. That's early. That seems like an early sound check, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah. Now you know why we flew in on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
There's no way we would have been able to make a 3 p.m. sound check.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
If we would have left that Saturday morning. It would have been even worse. So we were feeling better, or I compared to Germany, I was feeling better about what it was. It was still a no sleep till Brooklyn vibe. I was still burned out, but at least there was enough time between things that I could kind of acclimate a little bit.
Yeah. So
it's Saturday, and I'm like, I eat this breakfast and just chill for a minute. And then I was like, hey, can I get a ride to this record store? And Paul went with me, and it was rad.
Purchase Street Records.
Yeah, and I got some got some vinyls, and I got some patches and a hat, and I was super happy. And I posted about it. Purchase Street Records. So I want to back up a little bit. So I'm in Germany.
We're back in Germany.
Opening for Metal Church, right?
Yeah.
And they have this new singer that I mentioned, Mark Lopes, Lopes. Super guy, high-fiving me as I went off stage. We'd never met or anything, right? The next morning, Kurt, hey, Kurt, breakfast, before I get in the van at 6 o'clock in the morning, dark outside, blah, blah, blah. Me and Kurt exchanged numbers because I've known Kurt since the first Metal Church tour. We're not close, but Kurt Vanderhoof, who I will now announce, Mark Lopes and Kurt Vanderhoof of Metal Church will be joining us very soon as guests here on the Talk Louder podcast.
Yes, one of the benefits of those fly out gigs.
Yeah, so back to the story is I'm in Germany, Mark Lopes, new singer from Metal Church. He is a bad motherfucker. Oh my God. I don't know if anybody out there is hip to the new Metal Church. Dave, are you hip to the new Metal Church?
I'm not, no.
Holy Christ. Well, we will be talking about it again and again because it's fucking rad. And this singer is rad. And he does all the David Wayne shit to a T. It's fucking awesome. So now you know what he kind of sings like.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the gnarl, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a few days after both me and Kurt Vanderhoof are back in. He's in California and I'm in Texas. And I get a text from Kurt Vanderhoof from Metal Church. And of course I get giddy just even saying his name because I'm a huge fanboy. But he's going, hey, I see that the Toys are playing in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And Mark Lopes was born and raised there and still lives there and wants to come to your show Saturday night.
Oh, wow. What?
Small world.
Wow.
Small world.
Where did he come out?
With bells on.
Oh, nice.
Was not empty-handed.
Wow.
Brought me a cool new Metal Church shirt. We hung out for hours. He came like right after dinner time, and we went on at 10. So we hung out for hours. He's great. He's friends with the Shadows Fall guys. He's from the area. That's Shadows Fall. That's whole area. That's it. New England. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he lives 10 minutes away from the venue.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
wow.
Didn't I just see you in Germany a week ago? It was that kind of a vibe. And so now we're like all best buds now. He's rad. He watched the whole show. I hung out with him for a minute after, and he just super guy. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Small world. That's pretty freaky though, that, you barely meet a guy in Germany and then like, oh, by the way, did you know that my buddy you just met is from where you're going to be next week? It's like, what?
It's like it wouldn't have been as weird if you met in New Bedford and then you kind of 2 weeks later you're on the same bill in Germany. But to do it in reverse, to go from Germany overseas to I'm going to assume it's a smallish town in it's
like a township. Yeah. I mean, if you walk 100 yards, it's called something else.
Yeah, so to do that in reverse is really a trip. So that was your you've been busy with the Toys this summer. That was at least your second or third fly out with Toys? It was at least your second.
I want to say third because we did
Colorado.
We did Denver.
Yeah.
We did Hollywood.
That's right. Yeah.
We did our hometown gig.
Right. Okay. So busy past few months with Dangerous Toys, but you also did the Dirty Looks thing again. So talk real quick about that. Yeah,
that has become like an annual, semi-annual pilgrimage. Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. People are hearing that and going, where the fuck is that? Exactly. I still say, where is
I've
that?
heard it 3 years in a row, and I still ask.
Yeah, it's on the map somewhere, but it is a lush community. I want to say north. I don't know. I need an atlas. Right. Pennsylvania. But it's really the middle of nowhere. Hills, mountains, rivers, creeks, amazing. And people, here you go. People can drive from Canada to come to that show.
Yeah.
So that's how far up there it is.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is there's some guys from Canada. One of them lives in Pennsylvania now because of work. Him and his family live there. His name's Carl. And then there's my buddy JF LeDuc. They're buddies, but they're both from Canada. And JF still lives in Canada. He was at the Toys gig. They came down to the Toys gig. So they were at the Dirty Looks gig together. They were at the Toys gig together. So when you're up in that thrush of the Northeast,
you can be in 3 states in 5 hours.
Dude.
Yeah.
In Texas, you can drive 5 hours and still have 5 more hours to go till you get to another state.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. I get jealous of people that have that ability to sort of move around and experience different states and different cultures, and because it's like Europe. Europe is all these countries just sitting on top of each other. So
Texas is like the whole continent of Europe. Well, not so much, but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But so here's a question for you.
Anyway, the Dirty Looks thing was a fucking great show.
Yeah, 3 years running now, right?
It's always a great time. And those people they love that band right there. And they have accepted me.
Yeah.
And which is because that could have gone the other way, couldn't it have?
Yeah.
Well, easily, because they love their Henrik Ostergaard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And didn't really, well, I love, once they're probably tired of me hearing how gay I am for Henrik Ostergaard, that I just care about him because he's one of those one of a kind singer guys, guitar rocking dirty motherfucker, just bad. It's like a George, D'Oliva from Rhino Bucket. There's only one of those guys.
Yeah. If
it's the same kind of guy, but it's not the same guy, and because there's only one.
If you love rock and roll, you gotta love Henrik and George. I mean, those voices.
But you see what I'm talking about. It's like, even though those two guys are cut from the same cloth, it's kind of like they don't have that. Do you have this in medium? No, there's only one, and there they are. And Henrik, and kind of there they went. Well, to reel that back in, he never went anywhere because people still love him, and I have taken on the job of being the conduit for Henrik and his songs. And I've been accepted. And at the end of the show, Gene, the drummer, found me in the truck, thank you, good night. And I disappeared into the gear truck. Gene found me in there. I was bawling like a baby. I'm just confessing this. because those people, Dirty Looks fans, they really accepted me. And man, I felt it. I went out into the crowd and hung around, and little improv meet and greet, if you will. The glory walk, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to the merch table, got to go kiss babies, right?
Right.
And it's all part of the whole thing. So part of what you sign up for. And man, the people were just like, man, I knew Henrik. He used to stay at my house. I booked his last show. I kept hearing this from people just coming up to me. And dude, they gave me I'm a card carrying member now.
That's awesome.
Those people, man, that's serious business. Like, you have to think about it. A few years ago, I expected just rocks to be raining, bricks on my head. And it was the opposite. Well, this time could have been our most solid gig. And they were there with me celebrating Henrik. And it was really grand.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy with this last portrayal of Dirty Looks 2.0 and the ongoing legacy of Henrik Ostergaard.
Yeah, and I think people sense that you you harbor a great deal of respect and love for Henrik and Dirty Looks, and obviously you can sing, so you're capable of delivering the songs. But I think the thing that people might be gravitating towards even more so than that is obviously you've got to be capable on stage. But I think people sense the fact that you really are a fan of Henrik and Dirty Looks. And it's like you're not an outsider coming into their world. You're a guy who is, in fact, if if endorsed is the right word, Henrik, you were the only guy that Henrik used to bring up on stage once in a while to sing on stage with him. So you kind of already were on the sidelines of the Dirty Looks family, and the fans know that, and they see how much respect you're showing, and you're showing up 3 years in a row now and giving them a great night of these songs they grew up with and they remember, and they get to go home and talk about it and look forward to you doing it again next year. You put out an album of one of those shows a couple years ago.
It was our first show.
Okay, see,
it was like one rehearsal and then record a show.
I think some of the
which that doesn't sound smart at all.
But I think
that's good enough. Let's go do it in front of 1,000 people. Oh, you're going to record and film this shit?
Yeah. I think what you're saying, what you're describing is some of the love that you're feeling from that audience. I think some of it is due to the fact that you're handling it as well as they would want you to handle it. So hats off to you, man. I mean, I know it means a lot to you. I know that.
Yeah.
And I think now a bunch of people in the Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania area and that whole neck of the woods know that as well. So,
well, I needed them to know it. I know that I probably could have been like, fuck it. If they don't like it, fuck them. I could have done that. And a lot of people I feel like would have, because that's tough guy, rock and roll, fuck them, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing my version of these songs and blah. It's all I got. Yeah. No, it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And I needed them to know because I care.
Yeah.
I think that they got the message.
Yeah.
There was still like, I posted some shit about the show like weeks prior, and I usually don't read the comments, but there were comments, and somebody, I posted like I call it like just a Facebook Live. Hey, I'm here to talk about the Dirty Look show coming, and I'm driving to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen that.
And
I just shake my head every time. I'm like, oh God, don't wreck the car, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the comments was, who's this old dude talking about Dirty Looks? Surely he's a roadie or something from back in the day. He's not in the band. And
oh man.
And
I mean, Henry,
and I responded to that. Right? I actually responded to that one. I said, no, it's me, the old dude. And, they asked me to sing and I said, yes. And that's all I said.
Yeah. The old dude. I mean, you and Henrik were the same age, basically.
Yeah, whatever. Right? I don't even care about, right. You know how I am about the old dude. I'll be the old dude. I don't give a shit about that.
So here's a question based on everything you just said about how things are going with Dirty Looks and your love of the music and the legacy. You get asked this all the time about Dangerous Toys, and we all know the answer, but if you want to follow up on it, because I'm sure people listening to this episode are going to go, why didn't you ask the question? So you get asked all the time about when we might see some new Dangerous Toys or albums or songs rather. And I kind of know the answer to that. And I think most people do. It's a long process, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the new question. Having said all you said about Dirty Looks, is there any chance we could get a Dirty Looks record with you singing on it?
It's slow going. And the fact that both bands, not to put everybody in the same bucket, but the fact that both bands live pretty spread out, and we come from a world where we may or may not feel, because I have to do that because I don't want to really speak for everyone, but I think my educated guess, of course, and it's pretty educated because I'm part of it, but is that writing together in a room in the garage, is the school we come from.
Right.
Dangerous Toys has a bunch of songs written. Dirty Looks has, this version of Dirty Look. We have 3, 4, potential 5 song, ideas. And it's not that we're lazy, it's just that we're busy and we're occupied, and that old chestnut, life gets in the way. There's a lot of that going on. There's no deadline, there's no pressure, there's no agenda. You know what I mean? So it sounds like I'm at the bottom line is that we're just lazy, but I don't really feel like it's laziness. I just feel like the demand is not there, because it's not like it used to be, where there's a manager and a label with a bag of money going, you need your record recorded and turned in by this date.
Right.
We don't have that. That's not happening. Not that that's what the be all end all of the band's existence. Obviously, it's not. Both bands are legacy bands. Yeah. Just like Watchtower is also a legacy band. There won't be any new Watchtower material. Just get that right out of your head.
Right.
But the people that missed it, and that's a world of people, missed Watchtower the first time. So there were people in Germany having religious experiences because this is the closest they've seen it, Yeah. 3 original members of the band on stage. And Ron's a great sport. Ron is, Billy's not into it, so we have to, it's not a have to, we want Ron to do it,
Yeah.
And he's part of the band. So you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And those are valid points.
I mean, so it's the same with Dirty Looks. It's the same with Dangerous Toys. It's pretty much the original band on all 3 of those bands.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just, oh man, I need a new Watchtower album. Where have you been?
Right. 10 people in the comments section barking for new music isn't going to get the job done.
On any band.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just you. That's
it's not
true.
Their fault. I don't have anything against people in their demanding, making demands. But
I understand both sides of it. I'm a fan, and I understand where people are coming from when they say, man, you're out there doing these gigs. It'd be great to have a new album. But I also understand the side that says, hey, I'm in my late 50s. I've got a job. I've got families. We're geographically spread apart. The days of getting in the garage and knocking back a few beers and writing some riffs are long gone.
It's a great topic because, there's lots of bands doing it. LA Guns is prolific as fuck. Faster Pussycat is pretty prolific. All of our cohorts and, class of 89, when you're talking about, Dangerous Toys still plays out, but they're not releasing anything new. Even though we've been playing 2 brand new songs in the set for about a year now.
Yeah.
So there's stuff out there, and people
has a label, and so and they,
there's deadlines. They have there's stuff going on.
There's still a business component to LA Guns, and not so much with Dirty Looks, Watchtower, or Dangerous Toys.
Yeah, which are free agents, which are just we're just doing it. We're doing it for multiple reasons, and not because there's a deadline.
Right. Yeah. 2 different ball games. I get it.
The resurgence of Watchtower is, I find, very interesting. And the thanks goes to Christian Larson, who heads up the Hell's Heroes Festival. All of this is because of his interest in getting this band back on stage for Hell's Heroes. So that's something right there. And so we have that January 5th at Come and Take It. We have Hell's Heroes in March. And in between that, we have Dangerous Toys doing the cruise, Monsters of Rock cruise. So, there's some busy stuff. We have some future guests coming up on Talk Louder. But let's see. Let's check in with you, Dave. I mean, we've just talked about me for an hour. You said you're on a UFO kick.
I am. I wanted to. At the risk of dragging this out too long, I been out to the record store.
We've already done that.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on a couple of, first, some new releases and then some classic releases. Have you heard the new Rolling Stones record?
No.
Okay. So that came out.
I live under a rock. I don't know where I would hear it unless I aggressively sought it out.
It's almost, you could step out your front door and a bus with the tongue will run you over.
Hasn't happened.
It's everywhere.
It's not in the airport.
Well, which is where you've been living for the past 6 weeks.
Well, and I live in a small country town in Texas too.
Right.
It's not. I'm not
okay.
getting
Well, real quick.
And I work at a rock school that teaches music. It's not. It's not happening yet. I don't know.
Well, the Stones put out a brand new record, their first album in almost 20 years. It's called Hackney Diamonds. It came out last week. And I spent like the weekend listening to it on YouTube because I'm interested. So my first crack at it was, okay, just out of curiosity. Curiosity won me over right away. I was like, oh, this is worth a second spin. The second spin was like, oh man, this totally deserves a third. So I spent about 2 days listening to it on YouTube. And then it struck me as being so good that I looked up the credits on it. So I'm wanting to see, how organic is this record? Is there 15 outside songwriters? Is this Mick and Keith? And it is, I would say, 90% Jagger Richards compositions.
Nice.
There's 3 songs on there. The producer of this album is this guy, Andrew Watt, who's done a lot of stuff lately. I'm not crazy about what he's done with some of like he did the new Ozzy records. I think he worked with Post Malone. I think he actually plays guitar on some of the Ozzy stuff. And so anyway, he's kind of a new hip producer. And apparently he's a bit of a musician too. So all the respect to him, that's great. But when I saw him, his name on the Stones record, I was thinking, uh-oh. So he's got a co-writing credit on 3 songs. And then 1 song is a Muddy Waters cover. But the other 8, 9 tracks, purely Jagger and Richards. So this is as organic as you can hope for from a bunch of guys who are pushing 80 years old or are 80 years old in the case of Mick. So that made me love it even more because it was a great sounding record. It sounds like the Stones. There's an energy to it. There's a couple rockin' songs on there that kind of almost have that punk rock element that the Stones were so great at back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like Bitch or whatever. I mean, there's a bunch of guest stars. Paul McCartney's on a track. Stevie Wonder, Lady Gaga's on a track.
I've been seeing a live performance like that's on my news feed. That I can't get. Every time I open my phone, that's on there.
Yeah,
there's a live jam with Lady Gaga and Mick. Is that one of the songs on the record?
Yeah, it's called Sweet Sounds of Heaven, I think is the name of that song.
And kind of a slow bluesy number.
Yeah, yeah. But
I like Lady Gaga.
Yeah, she's great. And like I said, some of the garagey, punky kind of songs are really good. So I mean, I'm just shocked that an album that good is coming from those guys and is as organic as it seems to be. So I'm really looking forward to owning it. I need to hear more of it, but that was my initial reaction to it.
Well, when are they putting up statues of those guys? That's what I know. Not that is important, but I mean, there's a Willie Nelson statue. He's still alive. Right.
Well, the Stones,
because the Stones have kind of like, the Stones were everything. They were heavy metal and blues and Motown, and they were
country and gospel.
They've done it. They've done everything.
Yeah.
Punk rock. They've done it. Everything. Usually before it was a box you can put a genre into.
Exactly. Led Zeppelin did that too. They're so all over the map that it's like, you can't really classify them.
It sounds like I need to get off my ass and just, pick up the record.
It's well worth it. I was really, really surprised, pleasantly so. Hackney Diamonds from the Stones. Another record that I was pleasantly surprised by is the new one from Buckcherry. I have to admit.
What's this one called?
It's called Volume 10 because it's the 10th album.
When did that come out?
A few months ago. It's
Okay.
already
All right.
it's old now, 6 months maybe. I got to admit, I kind of snoozed on Buckcherry after a certain point. I was really into the band when they first came out, and then the lineup started to change.
First record is a crusher.
Yeah, the first record is amazing. I still play that one all the time. But they kind of started to lose me. They started losing band members, and the songwriting I thought shifted. They kind of lost some of their more street, dirty, punky, kind of, and went for a little more polished radio sound. They still had elements of all that stuff on their records, but it wasn't the dominant sound anymore, in my opinion.
Sure, man.
And on this record, so when Billy Rowe joined the band from Jet Boy, which is 2 albums ago, that kind of caught my attention. I was like, I might need to check in on this and see if Billy's bringing any of his, punk rock background or some of his really good pop, 70s pop influence into the mix, pop rock, hard rock kind of stuff. And that album was called Hellbound. And I went out and I got it and I listened to it and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty good. Maybe this is a bit of a comeback. Well, Volume 10 is now the second album with Billy Rowe, and actually it's the second album of this lineup. They haven't had a solid record or a solid lineup since I don't know when. This is the first 2 consecutive albums in a long time where they've had the same band together. So I think what they've done is they've taken all of the things that they do well, and they've finally gelled on this album. And I'm not going to say this is a return to the first album, but I think it falls somewhere between like Time Bomb and Black Butterfly. It's somewhere in that. So it's kind of got a foot in both styles of Buckcherry, if you will.
I think that they've been pushing all the right buttons, and at the same time, they're just being Buckcherry. When I say this, they work hard.
Oh, they're always out, man. Yeah. They work really hard.
They work hard. And this thing they're doing with Skid Row is a 1-2 punch. Because this sounds funny when I said I feel weird saying this, but Skid Row is back.
Oh, yeah.
Skid Row is kind of back.
Their new singer's amazing.
Eric is an incredible vocalist and has a great backstory that's sad and enlightening and happy all in one whack.
I was happy to see them pair up with a band like Skid Row. I wish Buckcherry would do more of that, like team up with, the Alice Coopers of the world or the Skid Rows of the world, or, if Aerosmith,
I think they've done all that.
They've
toured with Ace and Alice.
But they also go out with like Nickelback and Kid Rock and stuff like that. But I think it goes to what you were saying. They stay so busy that there's only so many Alice Cooper tours, and then you have to jump on something else, right?
Well, I think that going out with contemporary cohorts, makes a lot, instead of like legacy bands. Just they still feel like the new kid when they're opening for Alice Cooper or Kiss or whatever, but and maybe even Skid Row, they're still the new kid. But I'm telling you, Buckcherry and Skid Row, just as a show, just on the fresh off the lips, fresh off the tongue, that sounds like a party.
That does sound like a good night.
It sounds like a kick-ass rock concert. So, and that's what I think people want and are looking for, and I'm sure they got it.
This record has gotten a lot of spins in my CD player, and I'm really happy that they were able to put out something like this. And I hope that that's a sign of things to come. I think, like I said, if this lineup can stay together, and I think Hellbound was sort of a hint at what they've done with Volume 10, and Volume 10 sort of built off of Hellbound. So I'm really excited to see what comes next. And it's probably the most I've listened to a Buckcherry record since the first 3 of them came out. So,
well, if anyone's interested in what I have on my turntable, I have Celtic Frost to Megatherion.
Of course you do. From Buckcherry to Celtic Frost.
Quite a different.
Well, I was about to switch gears on you too, because
no, do it.
Another great new album that just came out is the latest from the Hangmen.
All right.
We've had Brian Small on this show, and I love that guy. He's a great songwriter. This one's called Stories to Tell. And the Hangmen, if you followed them over the years, they kind of started off. They've always had sort of this element of twang and, maybe some Tom Petty Southern rock sort of vibe, but really dirty, And I think in recent times, the last album was called Cactusville, and this one, Stories to Tell, kind of follows. They lean a little more towards sort of the Tom Petty Stones sound. More they don't have quite the garage punk element that they used to have on the early releases, and that's not a bad thing. They do this really well, and I think it's a great new album. It's called Stories to Tell, the Hangman. 10 songs. They kept it short and sweet, and Brian Small, I can never get enough of his voice, so congrats to them on a great new album. They just were in Spain. They just did a tour of Spain. Wow. And they must have a good audience over there, because I think that's their second tour in about 3 years, where they can go do a tour of Spain and Europe, but I can't get them to Texas to save my life.
Well, I've been hearing about bands such, in the ilk of that, in the sort of the vein of that, going to, that style, like dirty rock and roll, kind of, Rhino Bucket, Hangman.
Junkyard did the same a couple years. Well, that's probably 5 years ago, or maybe more than that. But
yeah, but I think that there is a promoter, and there's a circuit, if you will, that those bands go over there and do that is healthy.
Yeah, I think the Super Suckers kind of do that sort of thing.
Correct.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm always looking forward to a new Hangman record. And Brian, you hit it out of the park. You and Jimmy and Angelique and Jorge, congratulations on a great new record, Stories to Tell from the Hangman. Another new album from our old friends, the Lower Class Brats.
Yes.
This one is called
Tales of
the Wild, the Ugly, and the Damned. And it's their first full-length album in a long time. And they really went all out on the packaging. If you notice the sleeves, tell me what this looks like.
Yeah, Jason. those are Kiss bubblegum collectors Kiss
That's
cards.
Exactly what they are. Yeah. So the photos on the sleeve that show the band members are framed in the same style graphic as the Kiss bubblegum cards from back in the 70s.
Yeah, I think that company that did those is called Caps with a K.
Possibly. This one came, Marty sent this to me on orange vinyl.
Nice.
It's a great album. It has the single off of it is All the Young Dudes Are Pissed, which is an immediate classic right there. I mean,
right.
The song title is obviously a play on All the Young Dudes by Monte and David Bowie.
Yeah.
But it's the Brats, so in this case, it's All the Young Dudes Are Pissed. And the lyrics have a lot of great references to early 70s glam rock. There's a song on here called Ghost that is maybe my new favorite Lower Class Brats song. My favorite song has always been Orphans Don't Run off their first record from 95. It's just got a really tough guitar riff that just mows you down. And this song Ghost has that same thing. And the lyrics are pretty gnarly too. There's a song on here called One Matchstick that's maybe a little more musical than we're used to hearing from the Brats, but not by much. There's just like little nuances of new flavor in the sound. So it's everything you want from the Brats, just that good street punk, oi punk, Clockwork Orange kind of punk. And the version I got for a lucky handful of people, I guess, or maybe 100 or so, the album came with actual bubblegum cards.
Love it.
So I haven't opened these, but I would imagine they look just like the cards on the insert of the sleeve.
Yeah, what a great idea.
Yeah. And Bones is a massive Kiss fan, the singer for Lower Class Brats. You might not know it by looking at him, but he will talk your head off all day long about the greatness of Kiss.
You know it is when you look at the goodies that came with that record right
exactly,
there. So,
exactly.
Yeah, man.
So we started this segment, but with you mentioning my UFO kick.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this real quick, and then we'll wrap up and let people go. But I have been, as you know, me and my son go to the record store probably once a week, and he always is looking for something specific and typically new. If it's not a new album, it's newly released on vinyl. Therefore, it has a new album price tag on it. I go straight for the bargain bin. And he always jokes that I walk out of the record store with 3 albums for the same price that he paid for one.
Right.
Because I'm building my record collection one $8 album at a time.
Right.
So I'm always looking in the Ted Nugent, the Nazareth, the UFO. Well, lately I got on a UFO kick, and I posted something about this the other day. This is Force It. And
yes.
We talked about this album in our episode with Sean Kelly. I've got the North American version, which has the album cover has been censored, so it doesn't have the naked couple making out in the bathroom. But we discussed that naked couple was, in fact, the couple from Throbbing Gristle. I got it wrong in the Sean Kelly episode. I called it Raging Slab. It was Throbbing Gristle. But anyway, I posted something saying, I know that Phenomenon and Obsession get the nerd vote with UFO fans. Lights Out gets the mainstream vote from UFO fans. And of course, Strangers in the Night, I'm not even going to include that. I'm talking only about solo albums or studio albums here.
Right.
I submitted that this might be their best studio album.
Read the track listing.
It's got, I'm going to need my glasses.
Good. Put them on. Leave them on.
Mother, Let It Roll, Shoot, Shoot, High Flyer, Lost Love, Lost Love, Out in the Street, Mother Mary, Too Much of Nothing, Dance Your Life Away, This Kid's, and a prelude of some sort called Between the Walls. I mean, that's
okay. Like 7 out of 10 or whatever is like a hammer to nail.
That's why I saw this album. How much did I pay?
Mother Mary is so heavy.
$7.99, and I looked at the track listing, and I went, "Wow, I know Let It Roll. I know Shoot."
The opening track alone is a guitar lesson.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great album, and so then we went back to the record store the very next week, which is what we do now, and I was like, you know what? I've heard great things about this album. The Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't have Michael Schenker.
No.
This has Paul Chapman.
That's right.
Yeah. And this album is amazing. So I got to thinking, that we talk all the time on the show about bands that have lost critical members, and the conversation always goes towards lead singers, or typically it's lead singers,
Mm-hmm.
Bon Scott, David Lee Roth, Ozzy Osbourne versus Ronnie James Dio, whatever. Well, I got to thinking UFO lost a very key member in one Michael Schenker, but they did a lot of great work without him too. I have the Wild, Willing, and the Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent. I've got Mechanics. I've got No Place to Run. I think those are the 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that I have that are post Schenker. And every one of them is rock solid. It's amazing. It's amazing the body of work they managed to accomplish.
The records, the last 3 you just mentioned, I have those. I've covered songs off those records.
Yeah.
Not to just a riff with what you have going here. I really have a fascination with the Obsession record.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of their peak. It's kind of like, and I'm not as big on Pyromania as I am, High and Dry.
Yeah.
By any means. But a lot of people think that that's when, that's their Back in Black, Well,
Yeah.
Obsession is UFOs Back in Black, like Def Leppard's Pyromania is their Back in Black, and UFOs Back in Black is Obsession, but it still has Michael Schenker on it. Everything's still intact, but the production and the emotional value of all the songs and even just the running order and everything on it is top notch.
Yeah, and that's a great. I'll say that about those records too. The running order is great. What I like about these albums is song for song they're great, but the way the album flows, I think that's such a lost art. When I hear it now, it stands out so much. I have to mention it.
Why do you think it's a lost art? Because people just release singles now.
Yeah. I understand, but when I do hear it, when I do hear a record released where the track listing makes sense, I'll say that about that Buckcherry record too. When you put it on and it flows just seamlessly from start to finish and gives you something with each song, I think that's a lost art. It used to be pretty common back in the day when bands, because like you said, they approached it differently. They said, hey, we need to make this almost has to be a story. Not that it's a concept album, but it has to have a cadence and a flow.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to have a start and a finish.
You know what sort of modern record has that? It's not new by any means, but it's also not as old as these UFO records we speak of right now. Is Alice in Chains' Dirt. The flow of that record is a journey. Yeah. They nailed it. It's like Dark Side of the Moon. They just nailed the flow, almost like a concept record.
Yes, that's a good one.
It's funny that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so rare that when you hear it now, it strikes you. And it used to just be commonplace, but now when I hear it, it's an attribute that I'm not used to talking about with an album, because albums either have so much filler on them these days, or I'm not interested in the album because the single didn't grab me right away. There's something about there's almost an incentive not to buy the whole album anymore. I don't know what it is, because I'm sort of from the old school, but I don't hear people talk about albums anymore, except for the hardcore, nerds like us that have to have everything that Motorhead ever releases or whatever.
Right. Well, it's not for everyone because they don't have a place to store the format, or they don't have the patience for the room and the time that it takes and the ritual of I think that it's a bonus that you have Dash to like help feed your bad habit. Yeah.
There's no way I would spend as much time in the record store as I do without him wanting to go all the time. And I'm so grateful that he does, because I find something, I spent plenty of time in the record stores when I was a kid, and even as a young adult. You just look around this room. But it's not a top priority for me anymore.
Right.
I cling to the music that I've already collected.
But if I have some time to kill, I'm going in there.
Yeah. And I end up there, like I said, once a week anyway. So I might as well start digging through that Ted Nugent rack, or the Thin Lizzy section or whatever. I'm going to find some 70s gem that I never picked up the first time, or the first copy is so scratched that I'm going to replace it for $8 and call that a win. So anyway, I am currently on a UFO kick, and it kind of occurred to me that they've probably done as much quality work without Michael Schenker as they did with him, or very close, if not as much. And I think that's a huge accomplishment.
Oh yeah. I want to say this, and not to top it off by any means, but to correlate somehow, because of the Schenker brothers, but Scorpions, it's kind of like the way that, and Michael's related, obviously, in the way that I'm about to also say, that there's the Uli John Roth era of Scorpions, and then there's this whole other thing that they did without Uli John, that's some of it's just as fucking good without Uli John Roth, because there's this hardcore Uli John Roth, in And who did Uli replace? Michael Schenker.
Yeah.
That's the irony. That's the funny.
No, that's
weird,
a great analogy, because
weird rub there.
Scorpions did a good catalog of work post John Roth as well.
I think Uli was only in the band for what, 5 records?
Yeah,
5 years. Then they did the live album, and then he split, and then they kept going, and oh my God, you know what they pulled off even the next 3, 4, 5 records with Animal Magnetism and it was Love Drive, Animal Magnetism, Blackout. Those 3 records right there, I could survive.
Yeah, they're great records.
I mean, I love everything, you know, Flight of the Rainbow and In Trance and Taken by Force and of course Tokyo Tapes live record, which is just as hot and killer and running order and in every aspect as Strangers in the Night.
Yeah. And so here's another thing that occurred to me listening to some of this UFO stuff. You know, Scorpions always get the vote for like the best, quote unquote, the band that does the best, quote unquote, metal ballads. That almost sounds like an oxymoron, but the metal band that does great ballads, and people always name Scorpions. And I get it. I understand why.
Well, UFO's right there with them.
UFO does amazing ballads, man. I mean, just killer stuff. Everybody knows Love to Love, but I mean, there's
but looking out for number 1 from Obsession, it's a home run.
There's a song called Terry on the Mechanics record that's just, oh God, it just makes you cry, man. Yeah. And there's something, I forget the title on this one from The Wild, the Willing, and the Innocent. Hold on, because it's Lonely Heart. Lonely Heart is an amazing ballad. So anyway, you know, some Michael Schenker snob is going to leave a bunch of comments telling me I'm out of my mind.
But that's good. We want that healthy interaction. And if you're a UFO or a Scorpions nerd, because obviously we've kind of put in a Schenker soup order here. Yeah. People can tell us all about it.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I got a huge amount of respect for Michael Schenker. It just was one of those things that I never thought about until I started collecting some of these post-Schenker UFO records and realizing, man, these are great albums. How did they do quality work without Michael Schenker? Well, you still had Phil Mogg and you still had Pete Way, and, you know, and the songwriting is there, and then with Paul Chapman, you brought in a more than capable guitar player. So
I think that there is, you know, the synergy, you know, is there between not just, you know, Phil. It wasn't just Phil Mogg and Michael Schenker that were writing those songs. You know what I mean? It makes you think about, well, who was really putting pen to paper and who had the guitar strapped on when they were in the garage. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
a lot of great stuff from an era of a band that I think is often overlooked. And if you're a huge fan of the classic UFO with Schenker and sort of never paid attention to the back end of the catalog, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So
yeah, and they have been. I think that once you go deep, I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that in some of our discussion before we hit record today, because it's been great to just hear you mention even the album titles and hold them up and put some fanfare on it, because I always look at UFO as and also Thin Lizzy as one of these sort of outer region, and even have some ties into the new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah,
in every way. Definitely. Whether they were included in that or not, you know, but UFO is just as important as Saxon is.
Oh yeah. And you ask any of those bands, Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, they all talk about UFO and Thin Lizzy. So
they wouldn't even have a footstool if it wasn't for UFO.
Yeah. And by the way, you said hit record. I hope you did that a long time ago.
Ooh. Hey, you worry about having cool hair. I'll worry about hitting record.
Well,
by the way, at this meet and greet, which was a hefty one in New Bedford, Massachusetts, probably a third out of that, what did I say, 70 people? A lot of people. The first thing out of their mouth, love the podcast.
Ah, nice.
So you need to hear that, love, because
good. Thank you, Bedford, Massachusetts.
Well, and those folks were from all over the place.
Yeah.
They're from all over that, tri-state area kind of thing. New England, New York, Maine. They're from everywhere up there.
That's awesome.
So there's nerds just like us out there. They're listening and they're appreciated. So
thank you all for listening and bringing that to Jason's attention. It's always good to hear when you're out in the wild that people are actually listening and enjoying, and I love it when I see a Talk Louder T-shirt out in the crowd. So yeah, thank you all for all that support. It keeps us going.
Some upcoming guests. Who do we have? Paul Lydell?
Paul Lydell is coming up. You mentioned the Metal Church guys. I am in the process of, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to. We've been trying to get Udo Dirkschneider. He's had to switch on us twice so far, and I don't know if we're ever going to make that one stick, but we're working on it. I've got Danny Lilker from SOD, Anthrax and Nuclear Assault. I know that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that's freaky. Just even thinking, whoa,
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, well, he's legendary.
Yeah, and
he's like an underground metal god.
Yes.
Yeah, East Coast motherfucker. Yeah.
Cool.
We've got. I booked a local who's actually from New England, I think, originally. But Christian Shields, we're going to have on, and it's going to be kind of an interesting episode with him because he was cast to play yours truly in the new Backroom documentary, Bloody and Bruised, the untold story of the Backroom, Penny Rock Productions. He was I don't know. I haven't heard any kind of play-by-play, or did they find him? Did he call them? Whatever. But we can save it for the episode. So he's got some new music and he wants to talk about and also to be a good time to, start talking about the movie, the Backroom movie, which is in the South by Southwest Film Festival next year. So,
yeah, it's been submitted. So hopefully it gets accepted and will make its debut. That would be March of 2024. So, picking Christian's brain will be fun. And we'll probably reach out to Boudreaux and John Robert Jew.
Yeah, they're on they're doing a sort of a promotional campaign right now, not only to promote the film, but they also, they're promoting it because they have some bills to pay. And I would like to get them on the show, which we haven't done yet. And they can tell us a little bit about how you listeners, as well as me and Dave, can support by maybe donating to help them, get it's the rights to the music that they really need to be worrying about. Yeah. So that's going to be a bill. But we'll work towards that as well.
Yeah, that just goes to show they're doing it right. They're trying to go through all the proper channels to get the right music to set the tone for the movie. Yeah. And you can't do that movie otherwise. So
you can't have a movie about a rock venue and not have any music in it.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, as you know, they're trying to get the original music, which is that's the steep price tag.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't talk about the people you're talking about and have like something that is similar to as a, just
Right.
some fake karaoke version of it. Right.
That'll kill your credibility real quick.
Right. Right. There's plenty of documentaries that have done that already.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so much more we could just have a chat about and sort of riff around the crystal ball, if you will, look into the future as well as the past. But we don't know what any of it holds for future episodes. But this has been fun, and our original format where Jason and Dave just talk about anything and everything. Usually we would have a topic, but I feel like when we just riff like this, it's almost better.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a little less homework if you don't have to, research a topic through and through and just speak.
Well, we're both busy enough to where we can just vomit how we're feeling, and it's good therapy. So, I mean, we've been busy with stuff. So,
I know. Yeah.
It's good.
No, I'm glad we did this. Listeners out there and viewers can leave comments. Let us know if you like this format. See if we should do some more of these. We've heard in the past that people missed this format from back in the day. Not to say that we would do this exclusively again, because I really do enjoy having the guests, and I think
me too.
But from time to time, maybe the Jason and Dave show, just to mix things up. So, yeah.
Before we go, sorry to interrupt. Before we go. I find it very interesting, and we've already chatted about this a little bit. Let's talk about, the old That Metal Show guys' new show. Didn't you tell me they were going off the air? They were not going to do it anymore because they didn't have. What did you hear? Tell me what you heard. And this is not limited to the truth, fact, or fiction. This is something by hearsay.
No, it's this is straight from the mouth of Eddie Trunk.
Okay.
So, for anyone listening, you're probably aware the guys from That Metal Show recently put out a YouTube program called That Rocks, and it was basically much like this show, except it was Eddie Trunk, Don Jameson, and Jim Florentine, the three hosts of That Metal Show. But of course, it was all being done via YouTube. It was being done from separate locations. They were no longer in the big budget studio, et cetera, et cetera. And so they were much like us. They'd have a guest join us or join them. And they suffered a lot from technical difficulties. And I'm not saying anything they haven't said themselves. Sometimes one guy's audio wouldn't work. Sometimes one guy's lighting was bad. A guest would call in on a cell phone while they're driving in a car. So you've got audio quality and video quality that's, all over the place. And a couple episodes were even, unwatchable. So in a nutshell, Eddie Trunk announced recently that they were going to postpone the show. They were putting out a show once a week. And they're hoping to come back with some of these kinks ironed out in like 2024. They're going to keep the channel, so all their episodes are archived on the YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch previous guests and previous episodes. But there won't be any new content forthcoming on a regular basis. They did say that if some big event happens, or if, much like you and I today, the three of them just miss each other and they want to just get together and talk, they'll pop out a show, but there's really no timetable anymore.
Well, for the record, I thought the show and the format was really good, but let's talk about tactic and speed and production. I feel like you're waiting around. I feel like you're taking a risk by it being live. It's live.
Right.
So think about what that means. It's like you've got your guest, you have to line up, and there's no sound check. It's live.
Right.
Everyone listening to and watching Talk Louder, not live. This is not live. The closest thing to live we've done is that stuff in Nashville Rockin' Pod episodes that we were all shoved up on a couch because we had one camera, because our our studio was in a suitcase, and it's just how we had to do it. But we edited the shit out of that to make it a proper show. And they're not editing the shit out of anything other than on the fly, live pressing buttons, adding in, opening someone's camera, inviting them into the, the room. And this is all just software. But yeah, I could see how it would be frustrating. And even reading some of the comments on some of those That Rocks shows that were, once they, were done, closed shop, and they hit print, and it was already out there, and people were left with their comments. And even while it was on air, I mean, they're kind of fucking with those guys a little bit. It's like, well, even their clothing, they're messing with Eddie. Dude, come on, what's up with your backdrop? Hey, dude, what's up with that shirt? It's like, damn.
Right. Well, people don't understand. So we obviously are not live, as you said, but no. I would argue, and Jared is the guy, our producer, who can speak to this more so than myself, but I would argue that for the length of our show and what you see and what you hear, there's very little editing that goes on in this show. There's editing in terms of having the initial, the theme song. There's editing involved when the pictures are inserted in the intro, for those of you watching on YouTube. And there may be an edit here or there where somebody stumbles on some words or whatever, but we are not, Jared is not piecing this show together so that it looks as good as it looks when you see it. This is basically, it's taped, but the end, which you get in the end, I would argue is 90 to 95% just how it went down, except that Jared came in post-production and added the photos and the theme music and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and he does have some tricks he does to our audio tracks. Usually we have a guest, and sometimes our guests have bad audio, and he'll have to run it through some like magical filters to get it to sound
right
tolerable.
But in our case, 2 out of the 3 of us are pretty locked in. You and I have been locked in for a long time. The setup that you're hearing and the setup that you're seeing, the visuals, the audio, we've been dialed in. But you and I are in the same location every single time.
We're not together. You're in South Austin, and I'm in deep South Austin.
Individually, we're in the same location, yes. But where That Rocks show, those guys are always traveling. So right. Don Jameson is joining from a hotel room. Eddie Trunk is joining from
Las Vegas,
his place in Vegas.
Yeah.
Florentine looks like the only guy that seems to be but he travels all the time too. So you got 3 guys that are relying on, hotel Wi-Fi and all that stuff. And then you bring in a guest. So what I'm trying to say is, if we have a guest, that's 3 people you're hearing and seeing, and really only one of them is ever going to be the wild card. With the other guys, That Rocks, you've got 4 people on the show, and all 4 of them are a wild card every single week. And that's tough to rein in.
All I was saying is they should tape it. But if the guest that they want is unavailable to tape when they're ready to tape it, those are things that we're kind of like opening the lid and letting people look in right now.
Yeah.
We're not trying to compare this show to any other show. I'm a fan of That Rocks. I was into the show. I totally was. Even with all the quirks and crazy shit going on, I was like, well, all right, it's fucking live. These guys,
I watched all of them.
Obviously they care. They care enough to have a better quality product. They're going to wait a little while. And I fully respect that. And it's good on you. But back to what you and I were both saying about what's happening here and what makes this work is, man, Scott Ian was picking up his kid from school. Hey, I got to go. I'm picking up the kid. You know what I mean? It's like, we have to deal with that too.
Yes.
It's a scheduling kind of thing. But when they're doing that and it's live, they're not editing out anything of Scott in the car on the phone, waving, picking up the kid, from school.
Right.
And that's I think that's awesome. That actually is part of the charm of what's happening in the show. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like Saturday Night Live is really it's live. It's live.
Yeah, watching Scott Ian pick up his kid from school is kind of cool.
But what I'm saying is they're doing that during someone's time. I got 3 more minutes. Scott's having to let him go because it's live.
Yeah.
So there's, there's been a couple of guests where I think it's been like that. I think that the David Coverdale episode was actually without fault.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because Eddie went to great lengths to point out he used Coverdale as an example. As a guy that actually had his act together because Coverdale was in fact in some sort of home studio with proper recording, and Eddie is friends with him, so he knows that Coverdale has like an engineer that comes over and sets everything up and gets it ready. So yes, it's everything from that to somebody on their cell phone, picking up their kid from school. And that's going to get you mixed results every time. But I watched every episode. I love Scott Ian. I'm not picking on Scott.
No.
But that is going to give you a mixed bag of quality week in and week out. And I think we've kind of got a formula where we've got our arms around about 80% of it. There's really only about 10% of it that's up for grabs every week. And fortunately, we've done okay with that even,
I think that, that they're trying to rein in some kind of quality control and make changes for the better is a great idea because, the internet's forever.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening on there, I mean, they can beat it. They can do better, and they know that they can do better. So that's
right.
good.
I think that's why they did what they did.
It's smart. I just think it's smart. I wanted to bring it up and talk about it because I think that it's smart.
We're fans of all those guys, and I look forward to them, getting their arms around it and having a little more quality control so they can continue doing what they do, because what they do is great. It's just tough when you can't hear it sometimes. So, yeah. But anyway, great conversation with you today.
Love it.
Not having a guest for a change. We'll be back next week with a guest. But for today, this was a good time. I know you've been busy. Hopefully, you're finally starting to recover. I'll be back at the record store soon, and we'll have more to talk about in a future episode when we don't have a guest and we just want to talk about ourselves.
Well, sure, or just what's going on in our worlds, and I feel like there is enough people that would enjoy something like this too, because we're obviously going to be talking about something that's not just shit we like. Tons of people like it. So. Yeah. Cool.
All right, man. Good time today. On behalf of my co-host Jason McMaster, I am Metal Dave. Thank you for watching another episode and listening to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast.